What are the negative impacts of deciding to not drink on our friendships? Let's unpack it. God, I used to hate when teachers would say that in school. Let's unpack it. But let's do that. There are probably 5 big things that really change friendships, or what really happens to friendships when we decide to stop drinking. This was specifically for me in my 20s. I think it pertains to your 30s and your 40s. And I think it would go on to your 50s and 60s and 70s too. I'm here to tell you kind of the hard truth, the negatives of what not drinking, deciding to stop drinking will, how that'll affect your existing friendships. But then in this video here, I discuss the positives of not drinking in terms of what it does for your friendships and friendships in general. To get into kind of the first one on this, I'm just gonna say it how it is. If you have a whole lot of friends and you spend a lot of your life partying with them, in terms of like drinking with them, you're gonna lose some of those friendships. Some of those friendships just don't prevail. And it's a lot to do with the fact that your relationship at its very core, at its very foundational base, is predicated on drinking with one another. That for me, I had friendships where I didn't know it at the time, I didn't really think about it at the time, but when I decided to stop drinking, slowly those friendships started to like drift away, because what we did together, how we kind of connected with one another, what we spent time doing with one another and invited each other to do was drinking activities. Pre-games, going to the parties together, going to the bars together, anything really that surrounded around that. If you have a large group of friends, and I'm not talking about like a core crew, I'm talking like you're one of those people that has a lot of friends, there's gonna be some that drop out. And that might suck, it might feel bad, but at the same time, it's just kind of the reality of the situation. So be prepared for that. The second thing that changed was that the friendships that did prevail, like the ones that really lasted, like I'm talking like those core people, or even those kind of 3 levels of friendships. I'm talking like top tier, middle tier, bottom tier. Top tier being your top people, middle tier being like still kind of pretty close to that. I would say those 2, you do stay friends, but your relationship changes to each other because the way you relate to one another changes. The things that you do with each other changes. And it might actually be hard for a little while when you first decide to stop drinking to relate to those people, because again, maybe your entire relationship wasn't based on drinking, but maybe that was like a lot of what you did. But at the end of the day, your connection is so strong, it's strong enough still to where you can still maintain your bond. But even with that, like I remember like my best friends, I went through a stage of just like, I don't really know what to talk about right now, because a lot of what we did was drinking, and a lot of when we talked was through drinks. So if you do have those core people, and it does feel a little bit distant with them if you decide to stop drinking, that's part of the process. That's just part of it. The third thing that changes is the things that I enjoyed doing changed. When I was drinking, so much of my experience was going and meeting up with friends at pre-games, and then going and meeting up to go to the bars, and then drinking at the bars and staying out till 2 a.m. And then, maybe the day parties with the dagers, right? And then getting drinks at the pool and all of that stuff. And I'm not hating on any of that, but I'm saying that once I decided to stop drinking, I still like to do those things, going to the pre-games. Of course, I'm going to one tomorrow. I'm hosting one next weekend. I love going to the bars still here and there and all that, but I don't want to do that every single weekend. I don't have the desire to do that. And it's because just like bars are fun if you can find something with depth to do, or with deep connection, someone with a deep or a real connection, kind of a conversation to talk to. So you can do that, but it wanes overnight as people get progressively more drunk, and you're not drinking, so the conversations become like kind of just like stupid at a certain point, like stupid to have, because they're drinking. Like if somebody were trying to have a conversation with me when I was drinking back then, and it was like a real, like after a while I was just like, because I was trying to party and drink and all that and stuff. So I didn't care to go to just a lot of the stuff that I used to think was fun because I was drinking and anything was fun when I was drinking. I could have stared at a wall and it was fun drinking. So that does change. That changes your, again, the way you relate to people. The fourth thing that really changes is that once you decide to stop drinking, your circadian rhythm kind of kicks in back to normal a little bit more because you start to get more sleep. At least I did. I got more sleep, I got better sleep, I got deeper sleep. It was sick. And I just like, I still go out until 3 in the morning. I was out the other night until 2 and, you know, out and about and with all my friends at bars drinking. I wasn't drinking, but they were. And it's not that you're like lame and you just want to go to bed at 8 p.m. every single night, but the natural clock shifts in a little bit more. Like I will get tired a little bit earlier than most people because I'm not drinking, and alcohol has sugar in it and it makes you awake, you know, it makes you feel up. Like for me, when I was drinking, I could have gone till 5 in the morning every single time, and I did try. But version of Lauren that does not drink, you know, I just don't, I'm tired, you know, after a certain point, I'm trying to go to bed. And also like, I don't want to go out every single Friday, Saturday, because it just doesn't sound appealing to me anymore. I'd rather wake up feeling good and feeling like I got some decent amount of sleep. So the amount of you're shifting your sleep patterns. So I'm probably not going to go out 4 weekends because my sleep patterns don't really call for that. It just kind of changes. It just depends on the person. But if we're really listening to our natural sleep patterns, that is kind of what happens. And then the fifth thing, this one kind of sucks, but it is a reality that I experienced at least. I will say not one of my friends ever made me feel bad about deciding to stop drinking. The ones that maybe had the potential to do that, they just were the ones at the bottom tier of that triangle that just kind of fizzled away and we no longer had anything to connect on. However, there will potentially be some people who might project onto you that you are now feeling, you know, high and proud and on your, you know, high seats because you don't drink, and that you're like, maybe you think that other people who do continue to drink are doing something wrong or are less than. That did happen to me with a couple people, and I know I didn't do that because I, at the only time, was the only person in the world that I knew who didn't drink at that age. So I did everything I could to not talk about it. I did everything I could to make it not a thing. I was always the one who was trying to get people to drink shots because I still wanted to be seen as like the fun girl and the girl that, like, you know, I didn't want to make anybody feel weird and all that stuff. So I know I didn't make anybody feel weird about it, and I don't even think that way. So I just know I didn't. But people project, a specific person projected onto me that I seemed like I was better than other people because of that. And really what was happening in that situation was that they were feeling insecure about their own drinking and were absorbing my new lifestyle and taking it personally. And, you know, maybe taking the fact that I didn't come out as much for all the reasons I just listed. And also I was getting used to my new lifestyle. They were taking that as potentially me feeling like I was like, you know, better than them, which that could not be further from the truth because that's not the truth. And I don't think that way, and nobody should. But that could potentially happen. And if that happens, I want you to understand that that's a them problem. If you are being annoying about it and you are saying that you're better than them, like, you should check yourself. That's not cool. Don't do that. No one should ever project their life and, you know, tell everybody how to be, and no one should do that. But chances are you're probably not. And if somebody does that to you, just know that's coming from a place of insecurity. So all of this, you know, those are the five things really that really could change in your friendships negatively when or if you decide to stop drinking. I think that affects all ages. That said, in this other video, like I mentioned before, I talk about the positives of not drinking and what not drinking actually does for your life. I personally believe that it's so much greater than the negatives. I'm only sharing these negatives with you guys, not to scare you, not to deter you from drinking, but to have a real honest ass conversation about this. There are going to be people that aren't going to understand what you are doing with not drinking. Many people out there who drink don't always have the most healthy relationship with alcohol. And so to see somebody who's not drinking magnifies their own relationship to themselves about alcohol. And that's what causes a lot of the negatives to happen. Here's the thing, you guys. For friends and friendships that don't last because we decide to stop drinking, just understand that those are not friendships that really were necessary in your life in the first place. It might feel bad. It probably hurts a lot. Maybe you thought your friendship was on a different level than it maybe is revealing itself to be once you decide to stop drinking. But the thing is that you're actually getting the truth about who your real people are when you decide to stop drinking. And it shouldn't take alcohol or like any other substance for that matter to make a bond between two people last and be sustained. So yes, these negatives exist. Some of them prevail, some of them don't. There could be an awkward phase of relearning how to be friends with people without alcohol. I had to do that, and look, the friendships have never been better because I had to learn how to communicate and connect authentically without a substance in me, and that creates vulnerability, which creates vulnerability in the other person, which creates a deepened friendship. So if anybody is considering a life without drinking, just know there's nothing but good on the other side. I just want you to be prepared and to understand that it's nothing to do that it's really nothing to do with you. It's just the reality of situations in terms of these negative effects. It's just coming to the surface because alcohol is not there to drown it out anymore or to blur reality. So if you guys did like this video, please like it so other people out there who are considering a lifestyle without drinking, who maybe need to see this video, can see it through the algorithm. If you are, if you have anything to say, if you've experienced this, I'd honestly really love to see that. Maybe somebody else would like to see that too. It makes people feel less alone when they see that kind of stuff. And if you are considering a lifestyle without drinking, I talk about this stuff all the time. I believe we're stuck in a matrix of alcohol that society is taught to believe it's bringing us something good. We're brainwashed into it by advertising companies, event companies, basically companies who want us to, generate profit for them. And I've lived both lives now, and I see the life without drinking is shockingly, surprisingly, the best life, way more than the life I thought was good with alcohol. So anyways, you guys, I hope this helps somebody. I appreciate your time, and I will see you guys on the next one. See ya.